Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminolly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, everything I read for Cosy Week of GarbAugust. GarbAugust, if you don't know by now, is the annual reading event I run dedicated to the joy of reading trashy books. There are a bunch of wonderful co-hosts for GarbAugust this year, as there have been every year. You can find links to all of their channels in the description to this video. Do please check them out, they are all worth a look. You'll also find in the description a link to where you can buy the official GarbAugust T-Shirt with our 2025 motto, Don't Panic, Read Trash. A wonderful T-shirt designed by MJ from the channel Reading This Life. All proceeds from the T-shirt go to PEN America, an organisation that fights book banning, and you can get the T-shirt in other colours, I have to say as well. So if this green doesn't appeal to you, there are a range of other colours. You'll also find in the description to the video a link to where you can buy our official book for this year, Trash Tales. This was edited by Alex from the channel Alex Unabridged and contains loads of fantastic trashy short stories. You've got horror, you've got crime, you've got westerns, you've got creepy puppets, you've got smut, you've got a bit of everything. It really is a fantastically enjoyable volume. And I should say as well, I don't think I've mentioned before, so Lecton from the channel Reading from the Depths did a wonderful job of helping us to proofread this as well. So thank you very much, Lecton, for all of your support in producing the book. But yeah, if you haven't got this yet, it really is worth checking out. You can get it on Kindle, Kobo, or as a paper copy, or you can just get it as a raw EPUB file if that's your preference as well. Right, let's talk about what I've been reading this week. So this was week 3 of GarbAugust, which was Cosy Week. Cosy Week actually runs until the end of Sunday, but I'm wrapping up Cosy Week now and I'm going to move into week 4, which is post-apocalyptic or apocalyptic trash rather. So let me show you what I read for Cosy Week then. I've been on holiday this week, so I spent most of the week on a farm with my feet up, enjoying the countryside and reading lots of trash. It was a very, very pleasant week indeed. But let me show you what I've got through. So the first thing I finished is a book I was reading last week when I made this video. Definitely cozy, not definitely trash, but definitely cozy. The House at Devil's Neck by Tom Mead. This is the new Spectre mystery. Really, really fun, as all of these books are. So a kind of golden age style mystery with intricate crimes and puzzles and things like that for the detectives to solve. Set interestingly kind of between the wars, as you know, that being the kind of golden age crime period really. But this book has a crime that was committed at the end of the First World War as its kind of backdrop, but the book takes place on the eve of the Second World War. So I thought that was quite neatly done. So yeah, these books are always just pure fun, really kind of lovingly pulled together, very, very complex in terms of the mysteries, but watching Spectre kind of explain how things were done is always a really joyous thing. So yeah, I enjoyed that very much indeed. I also finished the Criminolly Book Club pick for this month. So that's a book club I run for my patrons and channel members. Link in the description to the video should you like to sign up and join us. So we read this month No Country for Old Men by Cormac McCarthy, which I was really enjoying at first. So I really enjoyed the first half or so of it, in that it's a kind of quite gritty crime thriller. It's got all the stuff I enjoy in fiction in it, to be honest with you. It's got, a kind of some interesting characters, particularly a really fantastically interesting villain, a bit of action, a bit of intrigue, but it ends up feeling like a book that is trying to tell you stuff, a book that's trying to get messages over to you. And it just, I felt like I couldn't quite figure out what Cormac McCarthy was trying to tell me with the book, and that started getting in the way of my enjoyment of the story. So yeah, I didn't enjoy that as much as I hoped that I might. Right, back to the trash then. So I finished Rivals by Jilly Cooper, which I've been listening to on audiobook for from the beginning of the month. My Spotify audiobook listening hours ran out when I was about 2/3 of the way through the book, so I read the rest of it. Really, really fun. Just in many ways appalling in that the attitudes of the people in the book are appalling. It's very, very set in a kind of 80s British upper class mindset. But Jilly Cooper does such a fantastic job of like portraying the characters to you, getting you interested in the characters and setting up intrigue and relationships and things like that between all of the different characters. Just really, really fun to read. And kind of the central plot point, which is about a competition to like win the what's the word I'm looking for? The rights basically to run a TV company, was really very entertaining indeed. So I enjoyed that a lot. After that then, and I need to tell you what squares these tick off on the bingo card. I think I'm now at the point where after this week I've only got one square left on the bingo card. I'll tell you what that is at the end. So Rivals ticks off the Bonkbuster square on the bingo card. It would also tick off the group read square on the bingo card, but I already ticked that off because I read Zoo by James Patterson as well. Rivals, I have to say, was much better. So after that then, to tick off the non-killer animal square, I read Live and Let Growl by Laurie M. Berenson, which was very kindly sent to me, along with some other books by one of my viewers, Jessie, a little while ago. This was fun and definitely very, 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 very cute. I have to say though, going into my mini review of it, I have never read a book that contains the word bitch so many times. Even Rivals didn't contain the word bitch as many times as Live and Let Growl does. So this is a book about a woman who is like a competitive dog breeder basically and shows dogs. And she and her aunt go to Kentucky, and there's a woman there who used to be in that, who's like a famous dog breeder who used to be like in that circle, and she dies mysteriously, and they then end up investigating her death, which I'm guessing is basically the plot of all of these different books. So it was an entertaining, fun, cozy mystery kind of a read. I didn't like absolutely love it, but it was definitely past the time. After that then, to tick off the middle grade square on the bingo card, I read Beware Dawn by Anne M. Martin. I didn't realise, foolishly, that this is a Babysitter's Club book. So I'd kind of heard of the Babysitter's Club series of books, but this is like a spin-off series from that. So it just says Babysitter's Mystery on the front, but it's actually Babysitter's Club Mystery. So this was actually quite suspenseful. So the Babysitters Club is this club of girls who run like a babysitting service basically, and like local parents ring them up and say, I need a babysitter for such and such a day, and they, between them decide who's going to do the babysitting. They're very organised. And in this book there is a mysterious person who gets labelled Mr. X, who is like knocking on the doors when the girls are babysitting, and leaving like threatening letters on the doormat, and like ringing up and not speaking on the phone. So it's got kind of a bit of a Scream vibe to it, and it's quite creepy. It turns out to be something reasonably benign, but it was a fun, very, very quick read anyway. After that, another animal mystery. So this one satisfies the Cozy Cat mystery square on the bingo card that we have to remember Alice from the channel, Alice and the Giant Bookshelf, who was a co-host in our first year and who sadly is no longer with us. So this was The Cat Who Went Underground by Lillian Jackson Braun. So I'd read one of these books before, like probably 20-30 years ago. I haven't read one for a long time, but I really enjoyed this. So the central character, Jim Quilleran, is a journalist, and I get the impression that he's in different books he's living in different places. In this one he's living in this small town, and while he's there he's getting work done. So he's got this kind of house that he's inherited, and a lot of the book is basically about him getting work done to the house and just hanging around in the town, hanging out with his two Siamese cats and just like having fun basically. And it was just had a really nice chilled out small town American vibe, which I really, really enjoyed. While all of that is going on though, various people are disappearing. So there's been a series of disappearances of like local handymen, and a guy who Jim has hired to work on his house, who's incredibly unreliable, ends up disappearing as well, and Jim ends up investigating. But it almost felt like the mystery was completely like an afterthought, to be honest with you. The main point of this book seemed to be just to give you a really nice chilled out vibe, and I enjoyed that very much indeed. And the cats do play, one cat in particular plays a pivotal role in uncovering the mystery. So yeah, I enjoyed that one. After that, another book set in Kentucky, what was the other Kentucky book? Live and Let Growl. This was a surprise hit for me. I enjoyed this more than I expected to. So this was Run for the Roses by Eileen Bryan from the Candlelight Ecstasy Supreme range. Look at that fantastic cover. Someone sadly has scribbled all over it with marker, but it's a wonderful category romance cover. So I read this to tick off the category romance square on the bingo card, because the book I originally read for that Cotton Moon wasn't really a category romance, so I thought I'd read something else. And this was really, really entertaining. So it had a good romance at the heart of it, but it also had a great kind of main plot as well, which was about these two brothers who run they've got like a ranch, I suppose you'd call it. One of them is very kind of studious and really into running the ranch, and the other one's a bit of a playboy, and they race horses as well. And the playboy one meets this young female jockey who's fantastically good, and he hires her to race one of their horses, like their kind of prize horse. So it's about the kind of build up to the Kentucky Derby, and a romance between her and one of the brothers, and there's kind of mystery throughout as to which of the brothers she's actually going to end up with, because both of them fancy her. And it was just really, really fun. The racing scenes were really engaging. I really got into, like, you know, I was really rooting for them in terms of like trying to get their ranch running well, the kind of money troubles they ran into and things like that. The central female character, the jockey, BJ, was brilliant, really, really entertaining. And the kind of mystery around which brother she was going to end up with was really well done as well. There was definitely some stuff in this book that was a little bit dodgy, including a scene where a guy just walks into a lady's bedroom in the middle of the night and gets in bed with her, and it's fine. But overall, it was very, very entertaining. I really, really enjoyed that one. Another one I really enjoyed, and another surprise hit for me, and I thought this was going to be good, but it was even better than I expected, was Arcade by Robert Max. Robert Max was a pseudonym, and I've forgotten to make a note of the guy's real name, but he wrote a few books under his other name, and just this one, I think, under the Robert Max name. So this is a classic kind of moral panic type book. So written to cash in on like parents' fears about video games, basically. And there's loads of stuff in here about that. So the central character is a single mum. She's got 2 kids, and she's worried that her son in particular is getting too into video games. And she goes to like a local meeting in the town hall where people are talking about it, and you get all this kind of a bit of kind of information about it. But there's a guy who turns up there who like works with computers, so he's trying to give like the kind of opposing view, if you like, saying computers are like the thing of the future, and you shouldn't be scared by them. Anyway, in this small town, this mysterious arcade opens up with these mysterious arcade machines, which are like arcade machines no one has seen before. And all of the kids in town become enthralled with these machines, including the central character's son. And it was just really, really suspenseful. I ended up spoiling the end of the book for myself because I was trying to find out more information about Robert Max and found a post on Reddit that completely spoils the ending of the book. But aside from it, despite that, I still really, really enjoyed it. The build-up of suspense is really well done. It's got a nice kind of Spielberg-y feel to it. In the kind of small town setting, the single mum, kind of sci-fi elements. It was just very, very entertaining indeed. And the ending, whilst it was kind of cheesy, I actually thought was really well done. So I expected this to be fun, but actually I thought it was really, really quite decent, despite the kind of cashing in on the moral panic element of it. So yeah, that was fun. I then kind of moved into apocalyptic trash week, partly because I'd run out of books to read, and I chucked this one in my bag as well. I'd read all of the Cosy books I took with me, so I read the novelisation of Dawn of the Dead by Susanna Sparrow. a new edition published with an introduction from Simon Pegg. The introduction from Simon Pegg was actually quite good. I quite enjoyed the introduction. Just talking about how he first came across the movie Dawn of the Dead, and how he'd read and enjoyed the book as well. So this is I would describe it, pun not intended, as kind of a bare bones novelisation. It doesn't really add anything to the movie, but it does a good enough job of, relaying the events of the movie, and it was a fun way to revisit the film. All the things you remember from the film are there, like the zombie getting the top of its head chopped off by the helicopter and things like that. It acted as a reminder, though, of what a visual filmmaker George Romero is. So much of the impact of Dawn of the Dead is around some of the imagery that is kind of reasonably subtly done, like, the zombies in the shopping mall, basically, and the violence as well. And the book doesn't really manage to convey that kind of message side of it, but it was still a fun and quite taut read. So yeah, I enjoyed that. I'm currently reading then a book that was completely not on my radar, but I saw Roy from the channel Roy Reads Anything and Gavin from the channel Genre Books talking about this author, and I wanted to give him a try, and there were a bunch of his books available on Kobo Plus. So the author is Hank Janssen, which is not the real name, it's also the name of the character in the books. So there were a few different people who wrote the Hank Janssen books by the look of it, and these were British kind of hard-boiled American-style crime novels published in the UK in kind of the 40s, 50s and 60s. And they were like scandalous at the time. They were, they were banned. People were sent to prison for publishing them and writing them and things like that. And they're quite, they're not steamy by modern standards, but they are quite salacious. They do have quite a lot of kind of sex and things like that in them. But quite entertaining, set in Chicago. Hank Janssen, the central character, is a journalist, and in this one he's investigating this body that's turned up of someone who disappeared 20 years ago, basically, and he's trying to piece together what's happened in that guy's life over that time. So one of those kind of quick exploitative novels designed to cash in on the success of people like Raymond Chandler. But yeah, a very entertaining read so far. So that's everything I read for Cosy Week of GarbAugust. As we go into the final week, Apocalyptic Trash, I have just one square on the bingo card left to tick off, and that is a sequel nobody asked for. So I've got two books that I'm going to be reading for that. The first one is The Second War of the Worlds by George H. Smith. And the other one is Return of the Living Dead by John Russo. So this is appropriate because this is kind of a companion to Dawn of the Dead. So John Russo is one of the people who worked on the movie Night of the Living Dead with George A. Romero. And in the same year that Dawn of the Dead came out, John Russo wrote this novel sequel to Night of the Living Dead. So yeah, I think I'm pretty sure I've read this before a very long time ago, but yeah, looking forward to revisiting it. So yeah, once I've read either of these two books, I'll have ticked off that final square on the bingo card. In terms of videos and things like that then, so having just got back from holiday like a couple of hours ago, I've got no idea what videos I'm going to be doing for the week ahead. So look out, I'll try and get something up, but I don't know exactly what it's going to be. In the week just gone, you've had a book haul video from me. You've had a video talking about the concept of must-read books and how I don't think there's any such thing. And you had my review of The Glamour by Christopher Priest. Right, that is me done for this week. Hope you've had an enjoyable Cosy Week of GarbAugust. If you're taking part, do let me know in the comments what you've been reading. And as always, thanks very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff. And I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.